What is up, everybody? It's Monday. It's 7 o'clock Central. We're here. I'm Steve Metrics. That's your boy.
DJ TRIGGS.
And boom, together, we are Db8 Sports live here on a Monday. Beautiful Monday night, autumn, Midwest. What more can you ask for? And then right before the show starts, boom, Giannis Antetokounmpo signs on for 3 years and a lot of $1 million. How about that, Triggs?
Man, you're talking what? I think it was like 62 million a year. Like
Holy smokes.
that is the biggest max of all time type thing.
Totally.
Like 7-time All-Star, 7-time All-NBA, 5-time All Defensive, like 2-time MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, like accolade after accolade, NBA champion. And like all you heard for the last, I don't know, handful of months, oh, he's going to New York, Golden State, Miami, and like XYZ big market team. And then, the Bucks got to keep their guy, plus, the big news of and Dame Lillard a couple weeks ago. Like it's good times in Milwaukee. Good times.
Absolutely. Now with that 3-year deal, if he were to have waited and signed the max contract in the postseason, would that have added years and added more on an annual salary basis?
No, okay. So if he would have waited, I think he would have gotten like one more year, but like I don't think it would have been more money. I'm not exactly sure how it would have worked. But if he would have done it earlier, I can't remember how the earlier termination clause would have gone, but
right.
My brain has just wrapped around that he got the 3 years with the player option in 2027. So like,
gotcha.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah, I did see if he would have signed in the postseason, it would have surpassed over 200 and roughly 20 million for, I believe, at least a 4-year contract. I think it would have been about that. Or actually, maybe it would have been a 5-year contract for 200 plus million. But if that's the case, then like you said, on an annual year-to-year basis or year-to-year salary, that would be less than what he's getting paid now for a 3-year extension.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay. Okay. This makes more sense in my brain now. Yeah. So the fact that he signed now sets him up for the future to get paid more, because if he would have signed the deal that you're talking about, he would, like, the new CBA rule would have rolled over to the point where he would have been a certain age and he would not have been able to get more money. I think that's how it works.
Okay.
Let me just look this up really quick.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
Extension player option. Okay, that's what it is. All right. So he signed this short-term deal, which means he can sign another short-term full max extension.
Yep.
Because of the over 38 rule, Giannis could sign another short-term extension again with Milwaukee in 2026 and then sign another 4-year extension in 2028. So he's setting himself up for the future to make even more money.
Okay. Wow.
But if he would have signed that, right, if he would have signed the extension that you're talking about, he would have overextended himself to the point where he would not have been able to make another short-term contract.
Sure.
And then by the time he was 38, that over 38 rule, because of the new CBA, would have stopped him to getting another 4-year extension. I think I'm saying that correctly. But yes.
Okay. Gotcha. So he's kind
That's
of
from
with the rise of inflating contracts and also making sure he does it before he crosses the 38-year-old threshold.
yeah, and that's coming from Bobby Marks's Twitter. Bobby
Okay.
Marks is like a super inside guy for
Yeah.
I think he was the assistant GM or something like that for the Nets at one point, but he works for ESPN now.
Yeah, that sounds like a familiar name. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense there. Cool. Good stuff. So there you go. We got
Yeah,
some
and
NBA.
if you think
Yeah.
about it,
Yeah.
I'm sorry to jump in, but if you think about it, it's the LeBron rule. So you remember how LeBron would
Right.
always sign 1 year and then he would have that option. He would always get the player option in 1 year and then he would opt out and then sign another deal. He was
Yeah. Him
basically
and
setting himself against the market every year.
Gotcha. Yeah, him and Drew Brees were doing that in opposite sports at the same exact time. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. And yeah, it was clear as day that was exactly what LeBron James was trying to do. So it's almost like in baseball how you can't just bring in a pitcher for like one batter kind of thing. It's like the pitcher has to be out there for like three different at bats. I think this is what the NBA is doing. So it's like, hey, you can't just do 1 year deals like that.
Mhm.
You have to do 3 year deals like that. So that's fair. Cool,
Yep,
cool.
exactly.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, that's cool. So there you go. Got some NBA to break down to start the show. With that, we are in week number 7. And with that, we had some wild games over the weekend. And I was in person for one of them. I got to see my Raiders be a complete breakdown against the Chicago Bears live and in person yesterday at Soldier Field. And that was rough, but I can tell you, Soldier Field in person at like field level is pretty darn cool. It is like a gladiatorial stadium. It's pretty neat. It's one of the coolest experiences I've had with my guy Grady from work. And man, what a blast! What a blast seeing that game live. A ton of Raider fans at that stadium, along with Bears fans. Two pretty cool fan bases together. But yeah, just a total blast there. The only thing I noticed is when you sit at a certain angle that we were at, every single play looked like it was a first down. Every single play looked like it was 10 yards at least. So a little weird on the depth perception, but good view nonetheless. And saw some pretty cool things there. So yeah, the one thing that was a definite surprise was that backup quarterback for the Bears, that Tyler Bagent. He looked impressive. I mean, it wasn't the greatest stat game, but just the way that he played out there was cool. To me, I don't know who this reminded you of, but Tyler Bagent kind of had this almost like Colin Kaepernick style with his body, his size, how he ran, how he threw. That's what I took away from it.
Sure. Yeah. What I took from it is like he he might be better than Justin Fields.
That's not true. I think he's a good player. He makes good reads. Has momentum. He does have this charisma about him, though. That was made known from them showing the post game highlights in the locker room. Total charisma. However, there were easily many times in this game that watching it, you could just feel that if Justin Fields were in this game, he brings a extra dimension of athleticism that is unobtainable. And he would be making throws that this game got out of reach kind of early into the fourth quarter. But if Justin Fields were out there, I foresee him really making plays in this game, really connecting with DJ Moore. DJ Moore came close to having multiple touchdowns in this game. And that chemistry is hard to deny. So I just feel that added dimension that Fields brings, where he does this athleticism where he scrambles outside the pocket and makes a play happen, plus his power. I mean, he does have awesome throwing ability as well. that is a total different dimension that he would bring.
You know, it's crazy. So I have a ton of Bears fans in my circle of people.
Sure. Yeah. Me too.
And you sound like one of those delusional Bear fans.
However, I do know I actually had a technician over here for work today on my fireplace here at home. It's a natural gas fireplace, and he said that basically after this thumb injury to Justin Fields and before that game that he injured it with the high yardage, high completion percentage, he was leading the league in touchdowns as a quarterback. And now people want to run him out of town. And it's ridiculous. Like this stuff of Justin Fields.
What? Really?
Yeah. That's I'm pretty sure that's what he pointed out. I mean, we'll have to check that and see what that says. But yeah, there's I thought that was kind of interesting that Justin Fields actually ranks fairly high in terms of touchdowns. And let's take a look.
I'm looking it up right now.
As of right now, they have 12 passing touchdowns. So I would think you can take
he has 11.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was at the top. But wait a minute. Wait a minute. Okay. Let's pump the brakes. So as a Packer fan, Jordan Love is right behind Justin Fields with 10, and Jordan Love is having a horrible season.
Totally.
A absolutely horrible season.
But Justin Fields at the end.
There's no way. Justin Fields has a worse quarterback rating than Jordan Love does right now. The reason he has so many touchdowns is because they have been garbage, and he's making passes in garbage time. That dude is horrible at throwing the football. His passing, his completion percentage is 61%.
Ooh. Yeah, and Jordan Love. Yeah, Jordan Love is right there with him then, right?
Yeah,
at about like
57.
57.
They're both horrible.
Yeah.
The reason why they have so many touchdown passes is because both teams are really, really bad.
Yeah, that is legit. That is totally fair. And yeah, I mean, there is definitely something to be said about this Bagent and his charisma. I mean, yeah, that's really eye-opening, seeing that bad of a completion percentage. However, wait a minute. If Justin Fields is at like 60 something, for us, I'm pretty sure we consider a good completion percentage at 70, right? So if he's at 62,
I mean, yeah. Let me go through completion percentage here.
Yeah.
He is. By the way, Bagent is number 1 right now, but I'm just making jokes. His percentage was 72% yesterday.
Yeah, that's solid.
Justin Fields ranks 26th in the NFL.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's not so hot.
Yeah. His average yards per completion is pretty bad. He's at 7.4.
Yep.
His yards per game, oh my gosh. He's down with, all right, now you tell me if he's a good quarterback. He's down with Joshua Dobbs, Bryce Young, Ryan Tannehill, and PJ Walker.
Yeah, that's a bad.
Zach Wilson's now is just below that.
Yeah, that is not a good. That is bad not crowd. A good listening.
And by the way, he's down there with Jordan Love too.
Yeah. Yep.
So even as a Packer fan, Jordan Love's down there too.
Yeah. Yeah, that is definitely the case that's going on down there. So yeah, that's not good. That is definitely not good. And I mean, again, with this Tyler Bagent reminded me of Kaepernick. I see this as a similar situation to San Francisco back with Cap and Alex Smith, that I think you say with a hot hand. If Tyler Bagent's doing it
Yeah.
and it may not be the greatest stat lines, you stick with him, man. And the thing that I definitely took away from this game yesterday is that, yeah, Brian Hoyer, totally garbage. But what I noticed is he reminded me of these pitchers that play baseball and only have a fastball, no changeup, no curve, nothing, nothing to invoke. I don't know, curiosity or deceivement from what you're typically throwing. And Brian Hoyer always threw to his left. And it was always Devontae Adams or pretty much a tight end that was on the left-hand side of the field. And it became so obvious that eventually the corners figured it out and timed it so that when Devontae was going to get a catch, they were right there with him and they deflected it. So I thought this was going to be a huge Devontae Adams day, but it was an incredible failure of Brian Hoyer, Josh McDaniels, Mike, what's his name? Ziegler, David Ziegler. Just total failure of recognizing the talent that you have at quarterback, which is completely non-existent. So
Right.
yeah, it was absolutely an awful showing on offense.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that, I mean, both sides just looked pretty pedestrian at
Yep.
best. But
Yep.
I mean, this quarterback the Bears have, like, I'm not saying he's going to be like the next big thing, but
Yeah.
Justin Fields can't. All right, I'm not going to say can't. He does not have like the quarterback awareness. Like I think he's the third most sacked quarterback in the NFL. We already talked about his completion percentage and the way he works out. This guy, at least in a week's time of practice, he looked like he had command in the pocket. Like,
absolutely.
Again, I just watched the Raiders decimate Jordan Love. I mean, it is what it is. But this guy looked like, oh, they weren't shaking him at all. Like, yeah, he didn't have a big, yards or whatever, but he threw the ball 70%. So
totally, man. That speaks for itself. And it was very short yardage work for the majority of the time because of the turnovers of Brian Hoyer in this game. So there wasn't much asked of him. And after that, you just let Deontay Foreman go to work, or after he got hurt, then the other running back that came in still managed to do damage, rack up yards, eat away at the clock. And that is an excellent game plan. The other game plan I noticed too with them running the ball is wherever Max Crosby was lined up, they ran the other way. If they were running the football, just go the opposite way of Max Crosby. You do that, you'll have success. And that was definitely a big factor in how they played against us on Sunday. So, yeah.
Now it's time to bash my my Green Bay Packers, because last week or the week before, they could not figure out that Max Crosby was on the field and just destroying our offensive line.
Yep.
At least the Bears understood that you don't go against a top defensive player in the NFL every play.
Yeah, and a guy who can stop the run, a guy who can stop the pass, do both. Yeah, do not go at that guy. He is absolutely terrifying, and it's why I love Max Crosby. I think he's one of the best in the league, and it's pretty cool. But yeah, that was the only thing I enjoyed in the game from the Raiders side. So yeah, I think we'll go to your Packers, and then I think we'll double back on both our teams with a certain player who played for both of us, who I think there's some momentum on a certain player getting traded and moving elsewhere. So let's go to your Green Bay Packers against Denver Broncos, and what happened in that one?
I don't know. I know I talked about coaching and stuff like that.
Yep.
A couple weeks ago. This is one of those moments where they kept showing this stat, and I'm at a loss for words, but the Packers are like the worst first half offense in the NFL, and then they're the best
Yes.
second half offense in the NFL. And
That sounds about right.
it was the complete opposite for the Denver Broncos, where they started off hot and then they trailed off. And that's literally what happened in this game.
Yeah, and pretty much just for Denver, one touchdown, that was it. That's good enough. That's all they needed to get there. Use the elevation and kick some field goals, and that's their game plan.
And it was crazy because, like, even watching, like, you look at Jordan Love's stats, like, 180 yards, 2 touchdowns, quarterback rating of 77. So
Yep.
it looks like he had this great game. But I swear the first half we had like 50 total yards. And it was like,
Yeah.
what is going, like, AJ Dillon ran the ball more than Aaron Jones did. And I'm like, okay, this is how you sum this game up. The most yards receiving was AJ Dillon. 34.
Wow. That should never
Yep.
happen. That should never happen against a Denver team that is atrocious in the secondary. That's mind-blowing. That is mind-blowing right there. And as much of a fan that I am, and seeing that my Raiders aren't using Josh Jacobs effectively, you guys have 3 really nice young wide receivers, and you can't get them the ball like that? That's wild. I don't even know what to say about that. Like, I mean, I think this comes back to Jordan Love, but, like, man, that is weird. That's some weird stuff right there, man.
But I can't even say it's Jordan Love. So the guy completed 21 passes, which is fine. But, like, when you watch the game, like, there was a handoff to Dontavian Wicks, wide receiver, and then it was a trick play where he threw the ball back across the field to a screen. And like, watching the play, it was like you could obviously tell what was happening right away. And as soon as the next wide receiver caught the ball, the Broncos were all over him. And it's like, everyone in the building can tell what the Packers are doing when they line up. If AJ Dillon's in the game, he's running the ball. I'm surprised he had 2 catches, which is sad because 2 catches led the team.
Yeah.
And then Luke Musgrave had 4, but he only had like 30 yards. So it's like they're doing these short passes that they're not getting guys open fast enough. It's like they're so elaborate, but you have the youngest team in the NFL. So why would you do all this elaborate craziness? And then, and I don't know if the people that are watching, listening, whatever. So in the NFL, your first like 20 plays are scripted. You know exactly what you're going to run. You don't even have to think about it. You just go out there and go.
Yep.
The Packers are the worst first half team in the NFL. So that script is that bad that it's either A, really, really obvious, or B, just really, really bad to the point that they can't do anything. And then once they kind of let the leash go in the second half and go, hey, Jordan Love, go do your thing, then they start scoring points, but it's usually too late.
So, yeah, they probably should be letting him go do his thing earlier then. And it needs to be more ad lib, kind of off the cuff, kind of street ball kind of stuff. And yeah, I mean, like, there's always been talks about that with whether it's Michael Vick or Cam Newton kind of working in that same kind of mentality. But I think if that's the case, then that's more of a reflection of your play caller than it is your quarterback.
Exactly. Yes. And that's what bugs me. So our defensive coordinator is obviously bad. Yep. They've been calling for his head for like the last handful of years.
Yep.
And now Matt LaFleur is calling the offensive plays, and it's showing how much Aaron Rodgers, audibling at the line.
Yep.
It shows how much Aaron Rodgers was talking about. I don't know if you heard those Pat McAfee interviews with that when he was kind of nitpicking the coaching staff,
Yep.
He would change the play so often, and then people would be like, "Oh, why isn't he just running the play that's called?" This is why, because they're bad.
This is why. Yeah. And anytime it comes to a quarterback audibling and they're having success, I would never question that. I mean, look at the people most dominant in our lifetimes not that long ago, whether it's Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, they are notorious for that. And there's a reason for it because they are the best of the best of the best. And if that's the case, then it's looking more like your coach isn't jiving with your play caller. And there were obvious signs of that with Tom Brady in New England, and then started to have more chemistry with Byron Leftwich once he got to Tampa Bay and started to figure it out. So granted, last year with Byron wasn't so great, but that is clear now that is going on with Matt LaFleur and whoever the quarterback is.
Yeah, and even think about all those players that you named. Tom Brady's with Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick has a Mac Jones. Well, we'll get there, but Mac Jones is pretty bad. And now Bill Belichick looks like he's not that smart. Sean Payton has washed Russell Wilson, and now he doesn't look like he's very smart. Matt LaFleur is supposed to be this genius, and he doesn't have Aaron Rodgers, and he doesn't look very smart. So it's like those quarterbacks make up for a lot of what is missing in the game plan.
Right. And if we go back to New England with Tom Brady, that play caller at that time, if I'm correct, would be Josh McDaniels.
Your
exactly.
guy. Yeah.
That is true. That is absolutely true. I mean, from me watching the Raider games, I actually do like his play calling the majority of the time. And it's just from just watching the game and just seeing the advantages and where the quarterback is going with the ball. And to be honest, these quarterbacks we have don't make good progressions. So the fact that their first reads more often than not are successful, or they make an errant throw because they're just not good quarterbacks, to me is a reflection that the play that's being called in is successful. But whatever was going on with Tom Brady in New England at that point in time, I can't attest for. And that's the thing too, is back then I wasn't watching New England football closely because I'm not a Patriots fan. So it is what it is. I guess another play caller that I did enjoy watching, even though people really went after this guy, ran him out of town, and now he's with NBC Sports, was Jason Garrett. I enjoyed watching him call a game and the calls that were made, but it is what it is, and it does reflect on that play caller when you do have a quarterback audibling out of those plays.
Yeah, I agree. What's the next game you got?
So real quick, before we go to another game, I do want to hit up on a player that, granted, I saw in person. He balled out. He's awesome. And a player that used to be on your former team, or on your team, the Green Bay Packers. And I also saw when this game got pretty much out of reach, saw him pulled out of the game. I'm pretty sure there were probably other players on defense as well, like Max Crosby, that weren't in the game. But it is not so promising seeing him pulled from a game, seeing certain comments made by this player that if I do remain on the team, I will be a substantial impact player. And that was Davante Adams. He has made some comments after the game, and I've been hearing stuff. I've seen that the Raiders are reportedly not going to deal him, but I feel it's going to happen. And I do have two certain views on this. The one is that he gets dealt to the NFC. The other thing that I keep hearing, I don't see how this would ever happen, but there is talks of dealing him to the Chiefs or possibly the Bills. And if that were to happen, I don't think that's a good idea. If anything, I would deal him to the Bills over the Chiefs because the Bills are a worse football team. The Bills are more than likely, in my eyes, going to not make the playoffs or be one of those middle of the range, middle of the pack teams that makes your draft compensation better. But to me, when it comes to dealing Davante Adams, I don't want draft compensation. What I want defensive fortitude up front. That's what I think it needs to be. I think it needs to be fortitude up front, or what? I mean, you're talking a ton of magic, but you're basically talking getting a bunch of picks and then trying to trade your way all the way up to the top of a draft. That's the other thing I'm hearing. But I also hear the top 6 picks of this upcoming draft are like phenomenal, and they're pretty insane. So I don't think too many teams are willing to trade back from what I'm thinking.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you'd have to move him to the NFC because, I mean, the Chiefs, the Raiders hate the Chiefs. You know that.
Yes. Yeah, that can't happen. And it's one thing that even led me to become a Chief, or sorry, to become a Raider, because of even being a Packer fan for a good amount of my life growing up. Even back then, I disliked the Chiefs because of how insanely good they were when it was Tony Gonzalez and what's his name? He's a commentator on CBS.
Trent Green.
No, not Trent Green. Trent Green and Tony Gonzalez, whenever they ran into Green Bay, whether it was at Arrowhead or in Lambeau, torched Green Bay. Like, they were on fire against the Packers. You go back to Super Bowl I, and the Packers defeat Kansas City. Then Kansas City wins it the next season after that against the Vikings. I've always really disliked Kansas City. I mean, I like Andy Reid and all that, and that's good stuff. But when it comes to a rival, I've always seen Kansas City as a rival, whether it's Green Bay or being a Raider fan.
Yeah, I mean, to his credit, Tony Gonzalez kind of torched a lot of people.
So. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's scary. It's why I love watching the guy and consider him and Kelsey. I mean, I know Gronk is one of the best, but Kelsey and Gonzalez to me are what really define the greatest tight ends ever. And even when Travis Kelsey got drafted, I knew at that point in time, now they figured out how to replace Tony Gonzalez. So that was pretty cool stuff. But I'm with you on dealing Davante Adams to the NFC. And I personally would not want draft picks. I want like legit concrete players. I want straight cash money. I don't want crypto when it comes to this, right? Because your draft picks are ultimately scratch offs, and there are plenty of them that don't hit. So give me the player in person. And when I trade them to the NFC, well, look at the top teams in the NFC. What do they have? Excellent run defense. The top 2 teams that have that are San Francisco and Philadelphia. Trade them to either of those teams and get real frontline defense help.
I got one for you.
Okay.
What if you traded him? I know you said you didn't want draft compensation,
sure,
but hear me out.
Okay.
What if you traded him to the Washington Commanders, got Chase Young, and some draft capital?
Yeah, that would be fair. Is Chase
him and Max Crosby? Yeah.
Yeah. There is some injury concern though with Chase Young. That's a thing that's a gamble. And I'm at this point, I mean, yes, I know we are dealing with Davante Adams at 30, but I don't necessarily want a Chase Young and then injury history comes up again. I want something concrete. So if Chase I do like what your take is on Washington. I'm just not sure Chase Young is that player that I would want from Washington. I'd want someone else who's better against the rush on that front line.
Yeah, I was just kind of looking at teams that could possibly get him. Like,
totally.
The Eagles and 49ers, I don't think they could do it. You know, like the 49ers have salary cap, but you know they have to sign Purdy at some point. So they're probably going to let some money roll over so that they could use it to get him down the road.
I think, though, part of this, too, and with all this Davante Adams stuff in the news, to me, it reminds me of the James Harden stuff that's going on in the news. And I really feel that both of these guys have the power to somewhat dictate where they want to go. I find it so hard to believe that Davante Adams wouldn't. Like, he can't just say, trade me to Washington. You really want to go to Washington and play with Sam Howell and finish your days as an NFL elite caliber athlete? No way. You're going somewhere. The other outsider team I've heard of is Detroit, but Detroit is not good against the rush. So I don't honestly, who I'm thinking of that I would want, there's 2 players that I would want from Detroit to fortify the defense. One would be Aiden Hutchinson because he's a clone of Max Crosby. However, that's a first-round pick. Like, I don't see that happening. The other commodity is Alex Anzalone. That guy's a tackle machine. That guy's really, really, really solid. That would be the other player that I would definitely want for Devontae, along with draft compensation. But that's about it. But I see Devontae calling his shot. I think he goes to San Francisco or he goes to Philadelphia, plays on grass. That's another thing. I think the guy wants to play on grass and not turf. Yeah, that's not happening, James.
I was going to say, I think you're getting trolled a little bit there.
Yeah, that's not happening, pal. Yeah, just not happening, man.
Okay, I know we're not. You triggered me a little bit. I know we're not talking NBA, but James Harden, that guy can't dictate anything. I almost said a bad word. He's a bum.
Okay.
Let's say he's a bum.
Yeah.
He literally signed a deal, and he showed up to training camp for the small amount of time that he did, just so they can't void his contract. Because if he does not like do what he's supposed to do this year, he can't become a free agent next year because of the CBA that they have. So
he's just trying to avoid the Antonio Brown situation. He's
a bum. And like he's a liar and he's cheating his team and I just heard this report today. Yeah. Was it today or yesterday?
Sure.
So the Clippers are the only team that wants him and that he has a shot of playing. And he wants to go to the Clippers, but Daryl Morey put out some sort of a deal of I believe it was Terrence Mann, a first-round pick, and a pick swap, and he said no. And I was like, wow, that's like nothing. And they were like, nope, we're good.
It's pretty ironic that, again, I don't know if you saw it yet, but it's literally the whole movie of Hustle, and how ironic that the one player featured in the movie Hustle of all the Philadelphia 76ers, and there were plenty of 76ers in this film, the one player not in the film, James Harden. And James Harden was dealt before the shooting of that film, so he definitely could have been in it. But this attitude that James Harden has, and now basically it does look like the whole plot to the film Hustle was indeed James Harden. That's no debate. That's no debate. So how about that? Got some basketball, Devontae Adams stuff in there. Boom. Let's start cruising on these games. Where else are we going, Triggs?
How about my favorite player of all time to like troll you with?
You got it.
Gardner Minshew, Indianapolis and Cleveland.
Yeah, and during the weekend, I was definitely thinking about that, especially at the game yesterday. And quite often there was this name of a wide receiver that I still don't know, but I know he's good on the Indianapolis Colts. That guy was balling out. Josh Downs, yes. I still don't know who this is, but he's playing well. But why is he playing well? Gardner Minshew. And you're spot on with this, man. The tape really shows it. And seeing the big throw that Minshew had, where he really plants his front foot into the ground and points it in the direction of that receiver and just throws an absolute cannon to whoever he threw it to, really shows that he's developing and he's a major, major part of the Shane Steichen offense. He looks awesome.
Yeah, it sucks because this is the Anthony Richards show. It sucked because the last place he was at, it was the Trevor Lawrence show. And then before, like, it just sucks that why can't this guy get a job?
He's the white Tyrod Taylor. That's really what's going on here, man. Yes. And I'm so glad Tyrod's getting his moment to shine. Like, he deserves it. But you're right. Minshew deserves it too. But I do think that it does play in with the coordinator and knowing the language and being familiar with it. And that's a major, major factor of why he's doing so well. So granted, last year was probably the first year that Minshew was figuring that out. But now he knows the language even better. And being in the Indianapolis Colts now, yeah, it's clicking. And you know he's going to be the quarterback the rest of the season. So who knows? This could even be a Kirk Cousins, Robert Griffin thing. Maybe he becomes the Kirk Cousins of the Indianapolis Colts and they move on from Richardson. Too much risk, too much injury. Who knows? We'll see. But there's some serious stuff going on with Richardson. I saw the guy play at Florida when they were running a 2-quarterback system with the other guy, and I hated it. But seeing him at Florida, he was more athletic, more agile, kind of like what's going on with Jalen Hurts too right now. The last few seasons, Jalen Hurts looked very athletic, very agile. Now he's really bulked up, especially squatting 600 pounds, and it really looks like it's a lot of strain on his body physically, and he doesn't have as much athleticism as he once had. I think that's going on with Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This game just didn't make any sense to me. Like, I still don't understand how the Colts lost. Like, it just.
You mean Cleveland? Oh yeah. Colts lost that game. My bad.
They lost by 1. That's how mind blowing it is. Like,
it is.
PJ Walker is horrible.
Like, oh yeah,
so bad.
He's real bad. I think last time I heard he was good was for the Houston XFL team, right?
Yeah.
Before COVID. Like, he was really good with Houston, and then COVID hits, and boom, done. And I thought he was going to the NFL that year. But, yeah, you're right. PJ Walker now. We saw him on the Rams with Baker Mayfield last season. That was rough. So, yeah.
He was on Carolina, right, at one point?
Yeah, I think they both were. They both were Carolina Panthers. Yeah.
So bad.
And exactly. Real bad, real rough. Tough sledding with those guys. So, yeah, pretty odd day for the Cleveland secondary. Even looking at Cleveland's secondary right now, they are still one of the best secondaries in the entire NFL, and that's giving up all those yards they gave up to Gardner Minshew. So just a real off day. I've heard some talk about confusion and miscommunication with those players in that defense from some of the talking heads that are out there. But other than that, I think it's just kind of an off day. Some of these teams, even the defenses, do have off days. But that's an incredible look for Gardner Minshew in that Indianapolis Colts offense, even to the point that Jonathan Taylor scored a touchdown, looked awesome, looked like the old Jonathan Taylor. And on top of that, he's the first ever running back this season to have a rushing touchdown against the Cleveland Browns' staunch defensive line. Wow. That's no debate.
Boom.
Straight up. Oh. So there you go.
I'm in.
Good stuff in this game. Yeah. Where else are we going, Triggs?
Let's go to the surprise of the week. New England over Buffalo.
New England over Buffalo. That is pretty interesting. And I know people want to say New England's the worst team in the NFL, which very well could be true. However, this is a divisional game. And on top of it, it's Bill Belichick. I know both yourself and myself both picked Buffalo to scorch them. But when we point out these deficiencies in this Buffalo offense, how it is so Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs dependent, and then you have Belichick just shutting down both of them, essentially, it really shows what that team is truly made of. And it's weird, man. It is a real weird look.
Yeah. I have no idea who this Mac Jones was that was out there, but the guy was like nearly perfect. I think he only missed like 5 passes.
That's incredible, man. And I know the end of the game last week against us with my Raiders, the pass was incomplete, but the pass he threw to Devontae Parker at the end of the game was just a cannon of a throw. And it was on point, and Devontae Parker did not come down with it. That was on him, not Mac Jones. Mac Jones threw a beautiful pass that he had to throw in the moment, and Parker didn't come down with it. So I feel like that moment really motivated Mac Jones to have a really, really solid day and flat out go toe-to-toe with Josh Allen and play better than Josh Allen in that game.
See, and that's the thing. Like, their run game was horrible, so it was all on his arm. Like,
wait, whoa. You just said New England's run game was horrible. That's mind-blowing. That is mind-blowing. Like, how in the world are we getting to this point where them having both Ramondre Stevenson, Zeke Elliott, and a good offensive line, and they failed to run the ball against Buffalo, which is easily their Achilles heel, and yet they win on the back of Mac Jones? That's mind-blowing. That is crazy stuff right there.
Yeah, I don't even know. But The whole thing, the whole game didn't make any sense. I don't know what was happening. I thought
The
Tom
one
Brady was out there.
exactly. How about that? Hey, looks like Brian Billick's offense from back in the Tom Brady days is starting to come to fruition there. So good
Huh.
stuff. I like that. The one thing that I noticed, and Saturday I had a chance to talk with some sports gamblers at a casino sports book, and they pointed out that if the line or if whatever the majority of bettors are on one side of the coin to such a point that it's almost like 70%, that more often than not those games go the other direction. And I started doing a little digging, a little research, and I have noticed over the last several weeks, dating to almost the beginning of the season, the moment a game gets above 60%, the underdogs are winning a little more frequently than you would think. And this is clearly one of those games. And I even looked at Minnesota and San Francisco tonight, and it's close. It's like 59-41 San Francisco. But when your money is getting so heavily thrown on another team, and I know people want to say, like, oh, it's not scripted, yada, yada. Well, there might be some stuff going on here and there that you might not notice with a certain call being made or not made that can really tip the scales.
That's eye opening.
It is. It really is. And I think the consensus, I think it was about 2/3. I think about 2/3 of the money was on Buffalo in this game. Even going back to last week with the Raiders and the Patriots, I think there was a huge amount of money with New England, actually. And the Raiders ended up winning that game. So kind of eye opening with some stuff like that. But ton of money won for the house and the casinos of Vegas. And Patriots take care of business against Buffalo. So boom, there you go. All right,
Nice.
where else? Exactly. Where are we going next, Triggs?
Washington and the Giants.
Washington and the Giants. I think this was pretty much a game that both you and I saw happening, except we didn't think it would be this low of a scoring game.
I mean, yeah, but when you have two horrible offenses, I guess this is what happens.
Yeah, it is. I know Darren Waller had a good day. I'm not going to say a great day because the guy really hasn't done much at all, even dating back to the Raiders to now. So he finally had a good game, not a crazy game. And not even on National Tight End Day, there really weren't that many crazy tight ends. Granted, there were about 6-7 touchdowns, but no one had like 2 to 3 touchdown days like we've seen in the past on National Tight End Day. So Darren Waller had a good day. Tyrod Taylor had a few touchdowns here and there. But yeah, between Taylor and Sam Howell and the fact that the secondary for Washington is really atrocious and the Giants still really couldn't pile up those points is eye-opening.
Yeah, I mean, to have like 2 receptions or fewer to every one of your wide receivers, Darren Waller had the most targets at 8. Like, that's
yikes.
Yeah, and Saquon was only averaging 3 yards or 3.5 yards a carry. It's like, wow.
Yeah, and looking at this too and seeing that Jalen Hyatt leads in yardage, and this isn't the first game, whether it's been Daniel Jones or Tyrod Taylor, that Jalen Hyatt has led receivers in yardage. It is still eye-opening how minimal his receptions are. And I really don't get what's going on with that because after seeing Jalen Hyatt ball out at Tennessee, you have to get the ball in this guy's hands more often.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like if you're a New York Giant wide receiver, you're basically doomed to fail.
Yeah, and it feels like there's so many of them and they're super saturated. Yet it's similar to the Jacksonville Jaguars, yet their quarterback situation is nowhere nearly as good as what Jacksonville has in Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah. Let's go to okay. I guess we're believers now. Your Atlanta Falcons and the Tampa Bay Bucks.
Yes, and
Yikes.
I know, it's a yikers, but it did go the way I thought it would go with Atlanta, so I am happy with that. But there's still too much of, I think it's like Desmond Ridder getting overconfident at times, and and trying to just run into the end zone and thinking that no one's coming for him and he can just hold on to the ball with a good amount of force and that no one's going to peanut punch it out. I really don't like seeing that from him. I think he's a much better player than that. His stats, at least in terms of yardage, are starting to show that. But still, having all of these turnovers really is disappointing. And I think it'll change, but it has to change with him first.
How about Tyler Algier? Like 2 yards a carry? Like,
yikes!
What
and that's
in the world?
Yeah, they got some good run blocking down there too for Atlanta. So I don't know exactly what's going on there. I did know that what's his name? Bijan Robinson had some sickness, some illness before the game. If I had to guess, I would think he probably had food poisoning. With these guys traveling around the country as much as they do, my guess is that he had food poisoning in this game. But yet, with that being the case, is he as implemental into this Atlanta Falcons offense as Christian McCaffrey is with San Francisco?
Wow. Yeah. I mean, he should be. Like after what we just seen Tyler do, like maybe he should be.
Yeah, and that's always the thing to kind of bring it back to you in basketball. That's what people who have really dug deep into the Michael Jordan flu game from back when. Well, really, what kind of flu was it? It was food poisoning. And I can tell you, I had food poisoning, and I actually was a basketball official. And pretty much the day after I got food poisoning, I had to officiate a game. It was a low-level game, not difficult, but I can tell you, when I was running the court, I could feel the fever. I could feel the sweat. I'm not really like doing that much athletic activity in this game, but it was to date the hardest game I ever worked because I felt like I had the flu, and that's what food poisoning does to you. And I would bet dollars on dimes that is exactly what happened to Bijan Robinson.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So,
all right, let's go to the biggest surprise besides that New England game.
Yep.
How about Detroit getting exposed by the Ravens?
Yeah, I didn't see this kind of blowout happening. I did see them having trouble passing the ball. Them on grass is another factor. That's another new element that they definitely don't like. It is what it is. They play indoors, and that's what they're acclimated to. But I didn't think that it would be this bad of an effort. I have Jared Goff. I have Sam Laporta. I benched both of them. But I thought it was more of just an abundance of caution, not a dud.
Yeah, I mean, Lamar Jackson had a 95 QBR. I don't think I've ever seen that ever.
It's gorgeous. And seeing the highlights of this game, seeing the time that Lamar Jackson has in the pocket, seeing how good his pass protection is really showcasing how strong of a quarterback he truly is when he has that time to develop, make multiple progressions, really make use of his legs in a very dynamic way, and not putting all of the offense on his shoulders. It is really, really fun to watch. I love seeing what they got going on throwing the ball right now in Baltimore.
And I don't know if you remember this last week. I was like, he's a dark horse for the MVP. Like, the dude put up 4 touchdowns, and your boy Zay Flowers is showing up.
He is. And that is also a big Achilles heel that I have pointed out. I don't know if I pointed out on the show last week. I think, yeah, I did. I definitely did on Tuesday. And I reposted it to Twitter that Detroit against the slot is one of the worst teams against the slot in the NFL this season. So for coordinators out there, fantasy players, really look at that. Look at Razzball.com. I've posted that link before too. It's an incredibly helpful tool to realize what's going on. And Zay Flowers totally took advantage of that.
All right. Next we got, this was the most confusing game that I watched. And like, even now looking at stats, still doesn't make any sense to me.
Okay.
Pittsburgh is 4-2.
Right.
Najee Harris and Kenny Pickett were both horrible.
Right.
The LA Rams were like not as good as normal, but they've been pretty solid the last couple weeks. and they're 3-4 and they lost. I'm just completely puzzled.
Yeah, totally. And LA definitely feels like they're the better team in this. Honestly, I think you and I can both make the case that LA should be 5-2 and not a
Yeah,
3-4 football team. So this is really mind blowing, and it is very bizarre to see this happen. I guess the one takeaway that I take away from Kenny Pickett is the completion percentage, and how you and I have basically developed that a completion percentage that's good should be around 70. Kenny Pickett's was 68. So that is a good takeaway from this. But really looking at this offense and what they did, it's almost like seeing the New York Jets win a football game with being virtually non existent on offense. It's mind blowing. To me, I feel like this would have had to have come from turnovers. And I'm looking at LA, they had not a single fumble and only one interception from Matt Stafford.
yeah.
So, wow, that's crazy.
Even watching the game, it didn't make any sense to me. I'm like, how are they losing? Yeah.
That's wild, man. That is really crazy.
The one shout out I do want to give to the Rams, though, you can basically line up any running back in their backfield, and that guy has a good day.
Wow, that's cool. I heard reports before going into this game that they were going to utilize all four running backs that they have. So it's pretty wild. It's pretty cool, and it just shows how good of a play caller Sean McVay is. That he can really capitalize on the run, and plus Sean McVay was a former wide receiver and a wide receivers coach himself. So it's a really cool offense they got going. But mind blowing how they lose to Pittsburgh and how they lose to Cincinnati.
Yeah. Let's go to the next one here. This one will be quick because
Sure.
Arizona's horrible and Seattle beat them.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it goes. Seattle is a 4-2 football team. Again, Arizona just has a horrendous secondary. Good to see that this is Jackson Smith and Jigba's first touchdown reception in the NFL. I had a feeling that was coming because he really hasn't been utilized to this point, and that's what they need to really step up this offense and take it to the next level.
So I know he got one pass in this game, but like I was really big on him in college. When does Clayton Tune just get to take over?
When does Clayton Tune get to take over? Well, I feel like it's going to happen regardless because Josh Dobbs is nice, but I think we're getting to the point where it's basically time for Josh Dobbs to probably focus on being a rocket engineer.
Yep, go bye. That's because
I
don't know. You have weapons and you can't get the ball to them. It's kind of sad.
Exactly, and you still need that dynamic play at quarterback. And I think you are right. They do have some nice things going on in their offense outside of quarterback, kind of like Green Bay in a way where like they have these nice pieces, but why is it not clicking on offense? And it's bizarre. It's pretty bizarre. I think they do need to turn the page and just start rotating through quarterbacks and these teams like Green Bay, Arizona, my Raiders. You got to keep rotating quarterbacks. You just have to. You have to see who fails, so eventually you can get to the guy that works, and that's what it's going to take.
So I don't think anyone thought this would be the case, but the best team in the NFL, the Kansas City Chiefs, against the Chargers.
However, I did point this out, whether it was last week or the week before, that we are getting into like literally a month-long stretch. I think I called it 5 games. I did call it that this is a 5-game stretch where Kansas City is going to light the league on fire. And I know we all, unless we're a 18-year-old high school girl that is a Taylor Swift fan, we all greatly dislike the Chiefs and what's going on right now. But I can tell you their offense is going to light the league on fire because they play against horrendous secondaries for now. I don't know if this is week 2 or week 3 of what I called, but they are in the midst of the middle of a 5-game stretch where they play the worst secondaries in the NFL. And now Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce are both going to go on fire for at least another 2 weeks.
Yeah, they went from, let's see, Minnesota, Denver, the Chargers. They have Denver again, and then Miami.
Exactly. Yeah, they have 2 more horrendous secondaries to play against. And everyone just got to see last night how bad the Miami Dolphins secondary is. And I can tell you, Jalen Ramsey and Xavier Howard, they ain't saving the Dolphins secondary either, man. Not happening.
I do want to give a quick shout out back to Lamar Jackson. All right.
Sure.
So Pat Mahomes had 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. And Lamar Jackson's QBR was still higher than his.
Wow. That's crazy. I don't know exactly what goes into QBR. I think you pointed this out a while back too, that it's kind of a weird stat. And I don't think you were as much of a fan as it back then either. Mm-hmm. And I'm with that train of thought that I personally do not like QBR. And I think this is something that we're going to point out in the future when we have better data analytics about it, that when it comes to quarterbacking, I think what we want to see is we want to see a 70% completion percentage. We want to see a total amount of yards that's around 275 to 300. We want to see something like that. And we want to see a combination of 3 touchdowns, whether it's a combination of rushing or throwing. We want to see 3 touchdowns total. And we want to see minimal interceptions and fumbles, obviously. So maybe like 1 interception-ish kind of thing is okay. If it's 2, we can live with that. 3, not so much. But that's really what we're looking at. We're looking for high completion percentage, high yardage, and a good amount of touchdowns. Basically 2 to 3.
Yeah. Yeah, and that, I mean, I enjoy quarterback rating and then the like the overall QBR and the actual rating. Yeah. And like I look at those numbers just because I'm like, okay, I can tell kind of where that's coming from. But like in this instance, the reason I'm making such a big deal of it, because like the Chiefs' run game was non-existent. And Patrick Mahomes is literally lighting teams up where this was the actual average yards per carry for the entire running game. 3 yards a carry.
Yeah. Yeah, that's bad. And it's horrible. And let me pull this up here. I want to bring our viewers inside the mind of Steve Metrics and where we're going with this and what we can show everyone together on this so we can all see it as one great family here at Db8 Sports. So let's go ahead and take a look at this and see what we're looking at here. And what we're looking at here is we are looking at defenses against the oh, no, we're not. We're looking at offenses. What's going on here, guys? So let's change this up to defense so we can get a better understanding of what's going on with teams in their secondaries. So here we go. We got defense. We got teams in their secondaries. I can't scroll down, but now I can. Oh, boy. Come on, Google Chrome. This is being tough. But here we go. Let's look at these teams and how they fare in their secondaries. So again, we look at yesterday, we saw the Browns give up a lot to Gardner Minshew, but they are still one of the best teams in total yardage against the pass. Now let's flip the script and look at that. How about that? Trevor Lawrence and those Jaguars and those guys and Josh Allen and the likes, yeesh, right there at the top. But right with them is those former San Diego Chargers at 1860. And even worse, I mean, now, yes, we have a bunch of teams that have bye weeks and whatnot. So now if we break that down into yards per attempt, there you go. DJ TRIGGS and his Ravens right at the top of having an excellent secondary. And then flip it to the Chargers, and they are dreadful at yards per attempt. So how about that, TRIGGS?
Yeah, I mean that's an obvious one. The one that caught me off guard there is the Packers are really good in the secondary. That blows my mind.
Yeah, and I know it didn't really look like that against Detroit, But it is always something that I've noticed between both the Detroit Lions and the Green Bay Packers. They do have a good secondary, and they are rather tough to
Yeah.
throw on.
I was just making jokes. We
Oh,
can't
yeah.
stop the run. We're really bad
Yeah.
at stopping the run.
And so are we, ironically. It is totally an Achilles heel of my Raiders, and it hurts. It hurts seeing that. But hey, if people run away from our guys who know how to stop the rush, that's how it works. All right, where are we going next, Triggs?
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, except if you're the Packers and you don't run the football.
Oh, okay.
Last but not least, the game of the week, Miami and Philly.
Yeah, Miami and Philly. And how about this one? For a secondary that's been under a lot of ridicule of the Philadelphia Eagles and the fact that they really struggle against stopping the pass, well, they managed to do as good of a job containing Tyreek Hill and that Miami explosive offense as he could, and completely shut down the run game, which they are known for.
Yeah, and I think that's what really helped is they completely like destroyed the run game. Like there was nothing they could
There's
do
nothing.
being Miami. And then once Philly got up on them, Miami was forced to throw and Philly was ready for it.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's interesting. I also really wonder too if I don't know if it's defenses, maybe not, but if it's people in the league, I really wonder if we're really starting to overvalue Tyreek Hill and undervalue the significance and the impact that Jalen Waddle brings on this offense.
So you know what's crazy about that? I was just
Yeah.
looking at that. Tyreek Hill had 15 targets out of
Okay.
32 attempts.
Sure.
And then AJ Brown also had 15 targets out of 31 attempts. So these guys are getting half of the targets. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, they're absolutely crazy. They're big time players. It's part of the reason why I am hoping that if Devontae Adams gets traded, that he does get traded to the Philadelphia Eagles. Because to me, AJ Brown is a Devontae Adams prototype. And I would love to see both AJ Brown and Devontae Adams on the field at the same time, plus Devontae Smith also lined up outside. That would be mind-blowing crazy. The fact that you can put Devontae Adams in the slot, like we've been saying we wanted to see happen with DeAndre Hopkins, this might be it. So, yeah, it's some pretty wild stuff. Not the biggest day out of Devontae Smith, not the biggest showing out of their run game. And even Jalen Hurts looks a little wonky, even though he had a good day. If you watch the highlights of Jalen Hurts in this game, there's pretty much just one play, and it is the bomb to AJ Brown. That is the play of this game for sure. But other than that, it's a lot of Sirianni sneaks and good throws by Jalen Hurts. I do think, though, there is a definite injury with his knee. There was a scramble I saw where he looked like he was totally just limping.
Yeah, I mean, he was only averaging like 1.5 yards a carry, so that could definitely mean something.
Yeah, it's just this year, like he may have some good throwing moments here and there for sure. He is a really good quarterback, but I do feel this year, since the last two seasons, to me is more of a regression to the mean than what I was hoping for with him this season.
Understandable. I mean,
Yeah.
I like that they have DeAndre Swift from Detroit out here, and like he's doing a lot of work for them, putting up for hopefully keep Jalen Hurts from getting more beat up.
Totally. And there was even a play where DeAndre Swift flat out lined up outside, caught a nice pass from Jalen Hurts. And it was a nice play, but it just feels like there's an obvious piece missing on this offense. And to me, it is the middle of the field. There are plays here and there to Dallas Goedert, but clearly not enough plays to Dallas Goedert. They need something else in the middle of the field. And to me, that something else has to be a bona fide slot receiver. And it has to be someone like a DeAndre Hopkins. Who knows? Maybe they pull the trigger and call up Tennessee again and try to trade for DeAndre Hopkins. I don't know. But I do feel like they need something like a DeAndre Hopkins or a Devontae Adams to land into this offense. They do that, now they're truly a Super Bowl contender to truly make it back and really outshine both Detroit and San Francisco.
Well, I don't know. Detroit lost a lot of gusto with this beating they took. So I'm not really caring too much about Detroit anymore.
Yeah, I still put it up there that we are going to see almost every team have a complete clunker of a game in this season. I think every team is going to at least get clunked for one game.
I agree. Right.
So,
I agree with that, but just they're, I don't know. I feel like they're beating up on bad teams.
They are.
And like they'll get theirs at some point, you know. I get it.
Right.
But
they will. They will.
I'm just going to go through their schedule here.
Oh, their schedule's light. I can definitely tell you that, man. The last 5 games for Detroit are really gravy for them.
They did beat Kansas City without Travis Kelce. I get that.
Yep.
That's cool. But they lost to Seattle. Then they beat Atlanta, Green Bay, Carolina, Tampa Bay, and just lost to Baltimore. So they've literally beaten like the worst of the worst teams.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, that's a great point. That is absolutely a dynamite point you make there. And playing against legitimate teams that have strong secondaries and have good offenses, they can actually get it done against Detroit. So we'll see what happens. It's that is a really, really cool point you make right there, Triggs.
And their schedule is light. I get it because you know just the way they got it set up, and they play the Raiders, Chargers, the Bears twice, the Packers again, Denver, Minnesota. Like they play a bunch of horrible teams. I don't know how they got this sweet schedule, but even though they were the second best team last year, so I don't really know how that worked out. But
half of your schedule. Yeah, half of your schedule you literally have no control over whatsoever, regardless of how you finish in your division year in, year out. Half of your schedule is rotated. So you are getting 4 games against a division that is not your own. And you are also getting 4 games in an opposing conference that are also not in your own division, in your own conference. So that's 8 of your 17 games are already predetermined, regardless of how you finish. And then another 6 games are based on who is in your division. So we're talking literally, you have no dictation and no control over 14 of your 17 games. That's no debate.
Right. But I don't know. I feel like the world, I know you were kind of hinting at how things are a little set up here, but I feel like everyone in their mother was like, "Oh, we need Detroit to be really good this year." And now they have this sweet schedule. I feel like they're going to get to the playoffs first round and just get mopped by whoever they play.
Totally. Yeah, that is an excellent point you make there. When we look but I think this is weird, and this does come back to the schedule makers and how how everything is pre-rotated, pre-planned, that Detroit could probably make it as the number 1 overall seed out of the NFC. Philadelphia is going to have a bruiser of a schedule for the next month. So I think it's very likely that Detroit can surpass them. And something's going on with San Francisco right now. With having very limited capabilities out of San Francisco, it severely is having an effect on that offense. And I think that gives a possible trade partner in the Raiders even more leverage to negotiate a deal with San Francisco. because they have to take some of this offense away from Christian McCaffrey. I know that sounds like blasphemy, but it is true that there is way too much Christian McCaffrey dependency going on with that offense. They have to figure it out. And this is Brock Purdy. This is exactly what we're talking about with Brock Purdy. There needs to be another added dimension. Whatever is going on with George Kittle, it is only very sporadic. They need to bring in a legit, bona fide number one wide receiver. Brandon Ayuk is great, but I think at the end of the day, I think Brandon Ayuk is a 2. And if we put AJ Brown, if we put Garrett Wilson, if we put Stephon Diggs in the San Francisco 49ers offense, 100% Brandon Ayuk is a 2.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think that's the weird stuff that's going on there. And that's why I think Detroit has the best path to success of being that number one overall seed, getting a first round bye, but then you have to play someone. And then who could they play going into the playoffs at that point? I mean, doesn't everything work in the NFL where like you go into the next round and then they basically pair up teams based on seeding? Is that how it works?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Gotcha. So they would play the lowest remaining seeded team at that point. So we're talking probably a 4. Well, literally, we are talking a 4, 5, 6, or 7 that comes out of that is remaining after the wild card round or whatever the first round of the NFL playoffs is called these days.
But that could be a Dallas. Dallas could be, because if Philly wins the division, Dallas comes in as a wild card.
And Dallas comes in at least at that point at a 5. Yeesh.
Yeah.
And they come in at a 5, and then they would go up against Philly?
Or I'm going to bring up the standings right now.
Yeah.
So
totally.
Let's see. Right now.
So you think it's
if we flipped it, if we set it right now, and let's say we flipped Philly and Detroit and put Philly as the number 1 and or Philly as the 3 and Detroit as the 1, Dallas would play. Wow. Right now they would play Atlanta? No. Wait a minute. 1, 2.
Atlanta's going to be the 4. We know Atlanta's going to be the 4.
Yeah. So they would play Atlanta in the first round, I believe.
Right, but so Atlanta would play against Dallas. My goodness. The fact that we're talking Atlanta against Dallas, that's weird. That is a weird matchup right there. And then the winner of that more than likely goes on to play against Detroit. But I'll put this out there too. Then that would mean that your 3 and your 2 would be some combination of San Francisco and Philadelphia. You could even get something weird where like either a Seattle or honestly the LA Rams. I think you might get 3 teams out of the West, to be honest, that let me see on that. You would have your 4 divisional winners and then probably.
If it started right now, Tampa would be in and not the Rams.
Yeah, that's fair. And it's going to get close. And then again, too, I mean, I think even though we are talking about that, let's really talk about like what wins and losses look like and what they should have been like. And you and I both agree that LA Rams should be 5-2. Granted, they may not be. Boy, this is weird. Not only are they 5-2, they could almost be 6-1, including a possible win, a tight win against San Francisco. So it's wild. there's real serious possibility that the the LA Rams could really cause immediate damage winning their first round game, especially if they play against San Francisco. At that point, they would easily be the lowest remaining seed and would immediately go toe to toe with Detroit. And how about that? Then we get Jared Goff against Sam Bradford. How about that? That could be wild.
Yeah.
That would be a true.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It could be fun. Believe it or not, the Rams are one of only 6 teams with a positive point differential in the NFC.
Wow. How about that? And that's from DJ Triggs. That's no debate. How about that? That is really, really cool stuff right there. Boom. That's how you do it, Triggs. That is great metrics you're throwing at us right there. I love that, man. That's great stuff. Yeah, I do get this feeling that LA should be much better than what their record shows. They really should be figuring this out. It's mind blowing that they're losing these games.
Yeah, but who knows? I mean, once they get all healthy and they're good to go, I mean, Cup just came back. Like, They could be really hot going into the playoffs.
Totally. And by then, maybe they get back Kyron Williams. I'm not exactly sure what his injury is. I know he's on IR, but you're right. Getting back more of a healthier Cooper Kupp and maybe a healthy Kyron Williams, I think the sky's the limit on this team. A team that's been decimated in the draft as well.
Yeah.
And somehow, some way, they're figuring it out. Like, that is a ton of credit to Sean McVay being one of the most brilliant minds in the NFL now. And I would easily put Sean McVay at the top of the coaching list in the NFL. And I give him props for not taking that money to go to Amazon and be a commentator. Although part of me still wants to see that. I think he's got that John Gruden persona about him. But I think Sean McVay is an excellent play caller, man. He's doing a great job. So I think that's good. And speaking of hitting it all up tonight, I think we've hit it up pretty well tonight. I think we got a heck of a show. Hit up all the games. Got you guys a little bit of Monday Night Football preview. Last time I saw the score, it was 10-0 Minnesota. So how about that? You got the questions on offense with McCaffrey, and then all that big money that's on San Francisco. Looks like the house is gonna possibly pull the upset with Minnesota and the Dogs. So some pretty wild stuff there. But that's what we got for tonight. We got our preview of Week 8 tomorrow. That's a special week for us here at No Debate Sports because it's Week 8. So we'll have some cool stuff going on tomorrow in tomorrow's night's show. So yeah, there you go. So let's wrap this up, Triggs. And what video game you got for us tonight?
Oh man, what do we have? Oh, we did that one yesterday. I got that.
Okay.
Boom.
Okay.
Boom. Oh, all right. This is the one. Gotta do the old camera flip here.
Okay.
Boop. Boop. One of my favorite games of all time. Oh wait, that camera. Flip yourself.
Oh no.
All right, sorry, yelling at the camera.
Okay. I know. You got it.
It is called Base Wars.
Base Wars. Okay. So what made the base so angry?
So this game is so amazing.
Okay.
Like, I tell everybody about this game. So that's the original NES, right?
Yes.
Basically, you played like a franchise or a season where every single one of your players was some sort of robot. You had flying robots, cyborgs, motorcycle robots, and then you could build them. And so let's say you got a bang bang play to first base.
Sure.
Right?
Yep.
You're third baseman. It's a ground ball to third. Third baseman throws it to first. The guy's supposed to be out, correct?
Correct.
That's how baseball works?
That is how exactly
Not in Base
works.
Wars.
Oh, no.
There's no out. There's no out. The guy running, the batter runs to first. The guy on first has the ball. Instead of being an automatic out, they fight for the base.
Oh, okay.
They go to town.
Gotcha. So it goes,
And like these dudes,
wow.
these dudes have like swords, they have guns, they have like super gloves to punch each other. Like it gets insane. And
My
I've
goodness.
said that they should have remade this game for like Xbox or something new, because it would be amazing.
Wow. So basically, instead of the out is recorded, and now you go to Mortal Kombat.
No, it's not recorded. The out is not recorded. You fight each other for that base.
Wow.
And if the hitter wins, it's his base.
Oh, okay.
And if you want to be really cool about it,
yeah,
you could run to second and then get into another fight if you have
my
HP.
Goodness. My goodness. Now we're throwing Pokemon HP into this. This is mind blowing. This is crazy great stuff. Yeah. I'll have to throw out a Pikachu or something on this one. That's wild. That's good stuff, man. Wow. That is crazy stuff right there from DJ TRIGGS. That's how you do it. So with that, my belt of the week, and not sporting my silver and black like I usually do tonight after a Raiders win, because that sure didn't happen. But we got some red. We got some fun monies going around with hitting up some casinos over the last week, and we brought out the Monopoly belts.
Ooh.
So how about that? You got some community chest. You got some luxury tax. Yeah, Golden State Warriors. You guys know a lot about this. So there you go, guys. There's your luxury tax. So I think there's a Meg Thee Stallion song where she also mentions luxury tax. So there you go, guys. That's where it's at. That's no debate.
I don't think I've ever seen that belt.
Yes, it's pretty cool. The one bummer about it is I was at work when this happened. Is the middle of the belt is awesome, and somehow I did something where I dislodged it, and I remember hearing something at work hit the floor, but I looked at the floor and I didn't see anything. And then later that night, I went on to notice. I looked at my belt and I lost the go space for when you pass go and collect $200. That was the middle of the belt. I know. So if anyone sees this online, or at least knows what I can do to get the middle of the belt and get that go space and just epoxy the living daylights out of this belt, let me know. Hit me up at Steve M3TR1CS on whatever platforms you see me on, and let me know where I should go to get the go space.
So much sadness.
I know. It was a rough day. Ironically, it's definitely one of the days I remember at work the most, because unfortunately I lost my go symbol in my Monopoly belt. So total bummer that day. But I think that's everything we got. So there you go, guys. So we'll wrap this up so we can all enjoy some Monday Night Football action, see what's going on with McCaffrey and the Niners and the Vikings and a Mike Flores defense, see what's up with that. But together, you see myself, DJ TRIGGS. You can get us both anywhere on Facebook, YouTube, and now Twitter is what we're streaming on here on No Debate Sports. So you can get us all here every Monday and Tuesday night at 7 o'clock Central Time here on No Debate Sports. And you will see us there. So that is where we are at. So I'm Steve M3TR1CS. That's your boy.
DJ TRIGGS.
And boom, together we are No Debate Sports. And that's No Debate.